Who'd have thunk? People will actually enjoy my very abusive relationship with this game that's extended for the past 3 years, and possibly a fourth. So, shall we delve into the newest information? I think we shall. Hello everyone, Destiny Dragon God, here for another video about Destiny 2. Now, seeing as how I'm generally horrible when it comes to timing on these things, information in general, because I like to get my thoughts well organized and thought up before I make a video on something, it's not because I'm lazy. What are you talking about? Be warned, this video might be a little bit overzealous in the way that I, let's say, make assumptions. A video came out today from IGN First to be more exact. They're having their first special this month on Destiny 2. If none of you are aware, I'm very surprised if none of you are aware and you're watching this video, but just in case, yes, it's on Destiny 2. In this video, they talked about things that I actually raised multiple concerns about and was very curious about in multiple videos over the past weeks. Lost sectors, adventures, and patrol in the whole world. Now, there had been a teaser about this Nessus not trailer, but Nessus video about a week ago before the beta came out, and I was interested then because I was hoping that, Bungie would kind of learn and put that stuff in the beta, at least towards the end of it, but, considering Destiny 2 runs at the breakneck speed of about a dead tortoise or, a doped up tortoise, I'm not really surprised that, it's taken them a while to actually move on that type of development. Either way, the video begins in proper Destiny fashion by showing us the same stuff we have done for the past 3 years. Like, I literally mean they show off one of the types of public events that are in the first game. Like, they didn't even start off with something new and, use that as their beachhead and then show us how they've revigged stuff later. But, I guess it's okay. Now look, I understand that, this is different to some extent. The first public event they show, the excavation. I almost said evacuation. Why? Because I'm trying to evacuate off of this video and this game. But they have added some new stuff to this excavation mission. Obviously, before you would just kind of go to dig sites, kill the enemies there, and move on, which got very boring very fast. But, it seems like this one's trying to be more of a type of defense, more of a warsat type of thing, where it's a defense thing. And in fact, this might actually be more of a warsat mission now that I look at it, and it says things like Guardians Linked and things like that, but hey, I'm not exactly a stickler for, specific things staying the same way. Obviously, by the fact that I want Destiny 2 to change, pretty much everything about the base game, especially in Patrol. But, moving on. The one thing I will say that I enjoyed about this, it seemed like there was scenery involvement within this type of public event. I know, right? Crazy to think that, a ship outside of your view in the map would actually shoot and help its companions that are on the ground, right? So weird. I liked how they showcase how, the ship there can shoot you while you are currently trying to fight off enemies and things like that. Just little side changes that actually might improve the player experience a lot better. Again, could and might. We have no idea because, it's not in the beta, so we don't know. However, if you can't handle my criticisms of just that simple thing, then you probably shouldn't go through the rest of this video, because you won't enjoy it. With the second public event they showed, they actually introduced something that I found rather interesting. It seems like there's going to be a new way to make a public event more, I guess, interesting, which basically allows you to make it into a heroic event, they're calling it, where you can add additional objectives to said public event. So I would basically attribute this to if somehow you were able to get a public event and then basically do another side mission in that public event. If you were just going to, for example, how they show it here, they're defending a Vex Conflux, again, something you do in the original game, but then they go and do something or whatever, they activated something to basically start a heroic event, which they said gives you better rewards and things like that, and also adds additional objectives. Now this actually does show promise to me, because it's something that allows the player to kind of make their own enjoyment out of this. So if they want to just do a quick public event and get it over with, they can, but at the same time, if they would like a more interesting experience, all they have to do is whatever they did to start it. Once again, I don't really think they show it, but I imagine it's something as simple as like shooting a specific enemy or bringing an enemy closer or pulling a lever. I don't know. It's Destiny, so it's got to be super simplistic. Speaking of simplistic and something I knew was going to probably happen, let's look at adventures. Talk about an anticlimactic name, which is literally the antithesis of what you're talking about here. Adventures? I've gone on adventures into my basement with more adventure to them than this. When they showed off adventures, I was not surprised in the slightest. I had said this worry a while ago. Actually, pretty much when they first called adventures out and said they were going to be this new thing, that they were going to basically just be the type of missions we did in Destiny 1, like the really stale ones from the base game that were like, hey, go collect this, go put Ghost here, or go guard this thing. Like, I kind of figured adventures were not going to be really what they were panning them out to be, and not going to be this whole expansive thing. And from what they said they're more about specific things just to get information outside of the story and things like that, which I'm sure will be useful in terms of lore, which that's the only thing interesting about this to me. Other than that, it's basically what I thought it was going to be. Very dry, something we've done before, and just going to be a kind of throwaway mission that you find. So far, nothing they have shown in the deep conversation adventure that they showed off has made me think anything different than what I thought it was going to be. Sorry, but that's just how I feel. Which leads us to Lost Sectors, or otherwise known as the Lost Trash Mob, that also has gold health, so it takes longer to kill. This is also another thing that I'm not surprised on how it turned out, which actually is a good thing in this case, because I wanted it to be like this. What? You thought I was going to have some quizzical thing to say and be all upset about? No, I actually kind of wanted Lost Sectors to be like this. Have a gold tier enemy that's kind of a trash mob and a little bit of a bullet sponge. Doesn't have to be super mechanically based, but just as a weird little dungeon you go into, kill a boss, get something for. No, like, honestly, what they showed is what I kind of wanted out of a Lost Sector. I was not expecting it to be super advanced and stuff like that. What? You think I can't like simplistic things too? Look, all the game doesn't have to be sophisticated. Just, the majority of the game, I wish. It's not showing. I'm sad now. Lost Sectors beg the question of more of a smash and grab type of game, where you run into a place, see what you can find, grab it, maybe kill a boss. Well, you have to kill the boss in this case, and then get what you need and leave. Something, something quick and fast, and makes the world feel a little bit more like woven into and alive. That being said, it's Bungie and Activision, so don't be surprised if, the third, fourth, or fifth Lost Sector you find has about the same feel and things like that as, the previous 7 Lost Sectors you've been in that also mildly feel the same. Because they couldn't be bothered to make, better pathing and things like that. And I'm not talking about aesthetics here. Obviously, aesthetics for an area can change, but what you will really notice is the paths and the overall layout of the map can sometimes stay the same. Just a weird fear I have. Nothing yet. Like I said, more of a suspicion, but I have a feeling like we're going to run into that problem with Lost Sectors. Just don't be as surprised as those fathers on the Murray show. And maybe you'll be prepared for that child support. Which leads us to the final and most interesting part of the video to me, the world quest, or world missions, whichever you want to call them. They're basically the same thing. See, I've always found this kind of funny, that Destiny has a very cosmetically pleasing world. It's very interesting, the scenery, I mean. It begs a lot of questions, and begs a lot of answers that you never seem to get. I always considered the Destiny world more as a bucket. Kind of nice looking from the outside, and the inside a little bit. But then you kind of look at the bucket and you notice, there's a lot of holes in this bucket. Like, a lot of holes. And then, you realize you can't fill anything in the bucket because it goes all the way through. And you're like, that should probably be checked out. Then you realize the thing, rust easy. And then you're like, you know what, I don't know why I bought this bucket in the first place. In that sense, it's more of the narrative that brings the game down. But the world is something I always found to be at least semi-interesting, or at least wanting me to explore it more. The problem I always found was that there was no way to really explore it and get any meaningful information other than the Grimoire cards. They were outside the game. Again, Dumb design choice. But here, it seems that world quests are going to be that kind of fill for the lore and the interest of the world. They already said they unlock after the main story, which kind of begs the question of, are we kind of just running through these places and not caring about them in the main story, which, again, mildly worried about, but I will keep my opinions until the game fully comes out and we can see more story stuff. However, world quests do look interesting. They seem like they're going to answer a lot of questions about what this place is, what was done here, why things are the way they are now, things like that. Or at least I hope they answer those simplistic questions I just put up. I mean, I made a literal question wheel, and I was like, hey, let me pick 3 questions out of this question wheel. And they were like the 3 most simplistic answers. It wouldn't even have to do with like the efficacies of like why the light chose us, things like that. I honestly, you should not see the wheel I made. It was kind of not fair, I'd have to admit, because some of the questions were just kind of stupidly in-depth, and you would only understand if you read the lore, like about the Books of Sorrows and things like that, but I digress. It seems like these are also more developed and actually seem to function more like the campaign mission we saw, which although I said I didn't enjoy as much because I felt insulted, intelligence-wise, for actually having to believe half the crap happening on screen, I will say it has a lot more steps and things like that than the previous missions, which is a good thing, which the world quests also seem to have as well. I just hope they're a lot longer, considering we should be covering entire, worlds with these types of missions. And I hope they're multi-stage, sometimes maybe even lock you out for certain reasons. So, we'll see about that. Before my final thoughts on this video, I'd like to quickly address something about the previous video. Now, I'm not surprised that I somehow welcomed the most cancerous people in the community to come after me. Not only in that video, but outside of that on forums and other things like that. Whatever, it's the price you pay for speaking up. But listen, there's nothing wrong with people that like the game, dislike the game, or otherwise to share their opinions about it, okay? Especially if those opinions come up with some pretty reasonable facts or other information, okay? Listen, the beta was pretty bad, and I say that as an opinion, but I also have information, and I have reasonable information to back it up. That being said, you can enjoy the beta and that still be fine. I don't understand why people think that just because I thought it was bad, therefore they can't enjoy it. That's not what I'm saying at all. You can enjoy the beta. Like I said, there was still stuff in that video that I said I found enjoyable. Even though I didn't like the strike, I even put in the comment that, hey, I have to admit it's not the worst Destiny strike we've had. At least it shows they're looking at the strikes from at a bare minimum, albeit level, that they're somehow keeping them at Taken King level, which is good. If that's the worst strike in the game, you know what? That's good. I can deal with that. But look, I don't want this game to be as bad as the first one. Hell, I don't think a lot of people do. Alright? Even some people that you might say are Destiny haters aren't exactly hating because it's cool, albeit there are going to be a lot of people like that. But a lot of people just don't want a repeat of Destiny 1. And they want, Bungie to show, like how old Bungie did, that they can make a pretty damn good game with a good story, good characters, and things like that. For those of you that are still struggling to understand, let me explain it like this. Destiny 1 is effectively like getting stepped in the foot multiple times for 3 years, and told periodically through those 3 years that it's going to get better and you're going to stop feeling the pain. The mind-numbing pain. And then they come out with something and they're like, hey, here it is, and then they step on your foot again, but this time a little bit less hard. So they're like, see, better? So you'd be like, well, yeah, I guess it's better because you stepped on my foot, a little bit less hard, but you still stepped on my foot. You could try not doing that. That's what I mean, okay? I'm not saying it's insulting in a way, although it is, but they could at least try a little bit more with some of the stuff they're putting out. I'm not going to sit here and say, this is Destiny 1.5 or whatever. Yeah, sequel's very reminiscent of, the previous game. But still, they could do a lot more. And some stuff is promising. With that being said, I'd like to wrap up my final thoughts on the Lost Sectors and Adventures and Nessus as a whole and say this. Although we didn't get to see all the area, I think they said briefly that this was only like a fraction of the area of Nessus, I would like to say that I was rather well pleased with the showing. Now, that being said, I didn't exactly enjoy a lot of that trailer, as you saw earlier. Public events, I thought were okay, but could need a little bit more work. I like that they're showing up now on your map and things like that. Adventures, I'm not surprised about what they are. I knew what they were going to be. It could be disappointing if you thought they were going to be very expansive like side quests, and as they called them side quests, I kind of cringed a bit because they're anything but. But Lost Sectors and the world thing got me mildly interested. Again, Lost Sectors, something I thought were going to be exactly what they were, but I was okay with that. And Worlds and World Quest, something I actually didn't know about myself. When they showed off, I got mildly interested in, and I'm sure they'll diminish that at some point. But that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you made it this far, please tell me what you think about the content in question. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, I don't really care. Well, I mean, I do, but I mean, if you're going to tell me why, and please try to back it up with some stuff. That's all I'm saying. It's just a little bit of civility here, people. Is that too much to ask?